Good morning, everybody. I have Colin Freeman here from the Maker Studio of the library. He's going to show us what they do. Colin is the IT training specialist at the Delaware District Library. His role involves overseeing both Maker Studio locations. Colin's main responsibilities include training people how to operate the equipment, planning educational programs, and managing daily operations. Colin, take it away.
Thank you, Courtney. Yes, my name's Kellen. I oversee the Maker Studio. We are an initiative of the Delaware County District Library, where we're located at two of our branches, at the main branch in downtown Delaware and at the new Liberty branch just north of Powell on the corner of Home and Stites Road. What we'd be talking about today is ways that you can use the technology we have at the Maker Studio for accessibility needs. Admittedly, this is not something we do often. We have in the past, and I'm not always the best idea person, so I might not be thinking of some things that are there. So as we talk through some of the technologies, if you have an idea of something, feel free to ask if it can be done, and we'll try and figure it out along the way. The biggest section of our space that we have that's used for accessibility needs is 3D printing. And there are two kinds of 3D printing. There's fused filament fabrication, which is the kind that we have here that uses the spool of plastic filament. You can see at the top of the printer there, and it goes down, heats up like a computerized hot glue gun, and squeezes out layer by layer your design over time. The other kind we don't have is called stereolithography apparatus, or SLA, more commonly. This uses instead a liquid resin that cures with the UV light, and it allows for a different type of print. Typically with filament printing, you're going to be, it's going to be cheaper to work with. The machines are cheaper, and the material is cheaper to work with. You can do typically larger projects because the project has been around longer, so the machines have gotten quite big in some cases, but it's not necessarily fast. Most projects can take hours. Some of the real big projects that we pass on can take up to days to complete, but there are ways that they are getting faster over time. Some of the new printers are going at incredibly fast speeds compared to the ones that we're used to. SLA printers, on the other hand, are going to give you very detailed prints. They can also print very fast by comparison, because they will print an entire layer at once, as opposed to traveling around the entire path that the filament ones do. But they are a little more pricey to get started with. So it really depends on the project that you're doing, what you're looking to do, and as to which kind of printing would work best for you. Just so somebody has a perspective, here's a couple of basic things: a little vase and a little owl figure. The bulk of the things we're doing are little toys and trinkets, but there are people who are designing brackets and repair parts, which does allow a certain level of accessibility through the equipment by just being able to repair something that's gone broken. A lot of times we end up with things that were pretty common at the time, but as time goes on, they're less common, and it can sometimes be cost prohibitive to get a new thing from the ground up. You can print off a replacement part to get something to keep it running for what you need to do to maintain what you've got going. As we look into more accessible uses of 3D printing, this is a personal favorite story. This is a woman who was blind and was pregnant and went in for her ultrasound, could not see the screen, but they used the newer 3D ultrasound approach, and were able to take the scan of the baby and 3D print it off for her, so she could be able to feel and see in her own way the baby that was on the screen and to feel that connection that most people get to see just in the moment. Another common use for 3D printing, well, not necessarily common, more known project is prosthetic use, especially in children. Prosthetics are not cheap and kids outgrow them pretty quickly. And so this allows somebody to get one part, such as the hand, that might be good for a long time, and then reprint the arm bracket or the leg attachment as the child grows. So instead of having to replace the entire thing, you replace parts as they go until they're full grown and can, and then go with the more permanent long-term prosthetic instead. We do have a company out of Lewis Center called Kamsa 3D, I think is the name of them, where they do 3D printed prosthetics. They do for children and animals. And they will also do a lot of work back in their home country of Morocco with this. We've had them in to talk once, and it was pretty neat hearing their process and the way that they go about doing things with it. On the smaller scale, 3D printing is used for everyday adaptability tools. So here's one for somebody who doesn't have grip strength to be able to mount their phone so they can hold it up to their ear. It's kind of in that vein of a pop socket, but even then you don't even have to be able to pinch it between your fingers. You just kind of set your hand in and go. Obviously, in a lot of cases like this, the more common the device you have, the more likely it is you're going to find something that works for this. So the new iPhones or whatever Galaxy they're up to these days is going to be more prevalent, and so be more designed for if you have one of the lesser known pay-as-you-go models. You might have to tinker around with a few things till you can find one that fits. There are also versions of these that are available. Sometimes you can put in the parameters of your phone, how thick it is, how wide it is, and it will adapt the model to fit your device. We've done a variety of these for the board. Chase had asked for a few of these, from pen holders to toothbrush holders, different things that allow you to just insert an everyday object into one of these to get better usage for somebody who doesn't have grip strength or can't see as well. Couple blitzing through a few more of these. The one on the left is a cup holder for a wheelchair. It's a pretty simple one, couple of little clamps screwed on to an arm that has a slot for a cup. I've seen some of these that are even as advanced as having gyroscopic capabilities in them. So if you attach them to like a walker and you're moving along, it will wiggle your cup along to keep it from spilling. I don't know how well it works. I haven't tried it, but it looked promising. The one in the top right is yes or no cards. They can be printed with 3D printing, can become in nearly any color, and a lot of cases the plastic that you use is paintable to make it absolutely any color that you need it to be. So here you can set out a variety of cards for somebody who's nonverbal to be able to let them answer questions, yes or no. You can make a variety of them for what different things they need. To eat, they need to go to the bathroom or something, and they can point to and reach to those things that allow them to communicate better than they can on their own. And then I'm a board game player, so I mean, I love seeing the ways that you can adapt that. This is a card tray that will not just hold your cards, but will splay them out so that you can see them and hold them together. For those who can't hold on to a deck of cards but still want to be able to play along what's going on. As we look into the more medical field, we can there are approaches to this as well. So the one on the bottom right was one that happened recently. This was a patient was born without a proper earlobe on the outside, and they were able to 3D print a cartilage-like piece that could be surgically implanted to give them more of the ear shape that they're looking for. If memory serves, because this was a little while ago and I didn't double check this, I think this was on more of a child, and the idea was that they would be able to come back later as the skin has adapted and grown around it, and add more to really flesh out the design of it to bring them up to that. And then the one in the top right is a 1-inch functional human heart. The idea being that you could take your stem cells and print off a replacement organ for yourself that would be accepted during a transplant, because a lot of times finding a donor that will match with you is sometimes the hardest part of the transplant process. So by being able to take your own cells and create a replacement that will work absolutely for you because it's your own body, it's there. The last I checked on it, they got it up to the inch size functional heart, but they haven't made it up to full scale sizes yet. So this is something that's still a little ways out, but is a pretty promising concept to work with. And then the last one for 3D printing that I'll bring up, there's a company that I believe is now out of Columbus, but used to be out of Cincinnati, called C3D. They're an organization that will 3D print concepts for people with Braille pieces attached to it, either as a sticker or built into the model itself. So this one here is for the layers of the Earth, crust, mantle, core. Each one is labeled with what it is. This is a pretty simple one, but they will have full scale, not full scale, but they'll have building replicas, they'll have animals, they'll have other concepts, different things that people can get a concept of what a butterfly is or what their house looks like. And they'll 3D print these. You can request them for it. They look for volunteers who have a 3D printer and are willing to print and send out pieces. They're fairly volunteer-run organization by having that community that will do the work and send out the parts for them. Any questions on the 3D printing come through or uses for that?
I don't see any questions right now. It looks like we're good on Facebook Live. I do want to say, I know we have some of our SSAs watching, as well as some community members on our Facebook Live. Kellen, do you mind touching base on like just a very kind of overview of what that would look like if someone were to just come in to use the 3D printer? So if somebody wanted to use, to make one of the pencil grips that we've made here at the county board before, just kind of a rough idea of how that works if they just come in randomly, and like maybe how much that might cost, just so people have an idea.
Sure. So there are websites like My Mini Factory, jumping ahead to the end of this, that are filled with the designs. I believe this is where Chase found all the ones that he was doing and where we found a good amount of these in the past. There are other sites that have 3D models readily available, like Thingiverse and Printables. But My Mini Factory has kind of, for what I found, the biggest and most robust accessibility section, broken down into different communication and handicap and every other kind of topic. So you go on there, find the thing you want, and then bring that file in. From there, we'll run it through a piece of software that writes all the code for the printer, and then it goes on and gets going. Like I said, projects can take hours, so it's not always necessary that you stick around. You can come back and pick it up at a later time. And this is the most straightforward approach to it. If you wanted to do some of your own work, there are programs like Tinkercad, which is a web-based design program that's free to use. And then more advanced programs like Fusion 360 and Blender, where you could take measurements from a specific thing and build out a design from there. Blender is really good for organic shapes. Fusion is great for mechanical parts. Tinkercad is easy to use. And so if you didn't find the thing you're looking for, designing it yourself would be the approach to go from there. We can offer some help with that. We're not necessarily the best designers, but we know how the software works. We can help get you on your way. And sometimes you can find those files that are modifiable and editable, and we can help get those adjusted. We are here, myself and my assistant Tom, to show you how to run the equipment, help you understand how the room works and things like that. So if you come even with an idea, we can sometimes help get you there to the finished product, either by finding a thing that's ready to go or helping you kind of get something designed on the way. Most projects vary in cost. We charge 5 cents a gram for our 3D printing, and that gives you usually about $2 to $4 for most projects. Sometimes you get a little more, sometimes you get a little less. It largely depends on the size of it. The bigger it is, the more it will weigh, and the more it costs from there. So a couple other uses that I could come up with. So laser engraving and laser cutting is one of our most popular projects and tools that we have here. It's used for engraving a surface, kind of scoring the surface and getting a design stuck into it, or cutting all the way through thinner materials, like up to 1/4 inch plywood or acrylic or something like that. One group that was doing a study for low to no vision users was the ability to assemble this little wooden chair that you see on the left-hand side of the screen. So they developed a flowchart method to this, where you start in that corner, the bottom corner, and follow the line to the next part. That part then has tabs or slots that you can then follow the arrows along to the next part to know where it connects to. And you can build that design out by building that into the engraving itself. Another option is, a lot of times, flat objects that you'll see for 3D printing or simpler designs could be laser cut as well, built out as that. So this is a one-handed fingernail clipper tool, so you can stick your finger in and push down with one hand and it will do the trick. I've seen these for 3D printing as well, but they're just as capable to be made with a laser cutter. Typically, laser cutter will be faster. In a lot of cases, you could laser cut out something like this in a couple of minutes, or it would take maybe a couple hours to 3D print. This does require some assembly when it's done, so there's a trade-off on that. But there are possibilities either way for making that work. And then once again, I'm a board gamer, so I saw this one and I thought it was pretty neat. So this is a copy of the board game Catan, where they have engraved sections where it will list what the numbers are, the pieces are, the name of the tile and everything in Braille, so that somebody can track where they're at, what pieces are there, where things are at. How practical this is, I do not know. But I thought it was a neat use of the technology for it. And then I kind of rushed through this to get to the end real quick. So the another option that we have that would be potentially used pretty well for this is our vinyl signage options. So we have two types of vinyl work. There's a wide format printer and a Cricut. The Cricut will take a single color sheet of vinyl, so it'll just be all blue or all green, and then you'll cut out a design from there, which can be applied either with an adhesive sticker backing or with a heat transfer onto the shirt or something. And go from there. The wide format printer, by comparison, will print onto a large sheet of white and whatever your design is, and then can cut out from that as well. We use that for stickers, banners, posters, a variety of uses. One thing we've used our Cricut for was to enhance the letter size on a keyboard. So we were able to print off a set of letters that could go adhere onto all the buttons of the keyboard to make it easier to see what the letters were, where they were at. You could do this for any number of buttons. You can do the numbers, you can do all the other ones around it as well. You can use whichever font and such you want to make it. We chose Impact because it's big and bold and pretty easy to see. Signage is our main common use for this. So this is a simple sign that we made, and we chose the white vinyl because it stands out nicely from the brown background. It is possible to layer this as well, so you could put a version of this on top of a black one that is a little wider than everything, so that you get a black outline around your white text to help it stand out a little bit more visually from whatever material is being put onto. then I will just rush through some of the other tools that we have here that I couldn't quite come up with any uses for, but just so you have an awareness of what the Maker Studio offers, and maybe you have an idea that comes up from there. This is our analog collection, for lack of a better term. This is all the things that don't require a computer to run. So we have a bookbinder that will do the comb bindings. We can bind up to 200 pages together as a book. We have a laminator. We have two kinds. Both locations have the pouch laminator, and that does single sheets at a time. And the Liberty branch has a roll laminator that allows you to do large objects or multiple pieces all at once. We have sewing machines for sewing, and then button makers for 1.25" and 3" buttons. They can be pinned back, they can be magnets. We recently introduced keychain capabilities for the smaller ones. These are a lot of fun for little trinkets and giveaways. We've had people use the large 3" ones for name tags or for volunteer badges, different uses like that. The Liberty branch specifically has our sublimation printer. This is going to take a specialized ink and infuse it with a heat press into an object that's receptive for it, like a water bottle or a t-shirt or something. You'll need a sublimation plank or a fabric that's at least 65% polyester to do that. So I couldn't think of any way to use it for accessibility needs, but you can make custom objects, really nice kind of gifts and things. Similar, we have the embroidery machine at our Delaware location. This will do an embroidered stitch design up to 8 inches square on flat fabrics or on like t-shirts and tote bags. It can be turned inside out to lay flat. And then the last one is an accessibility feature in a kind of different way. At Liberty, we have media conversion tools to get VHS and slides and negatives into a digital format, and a few other file types too. So accessibility in the sense that not everybody has a slide projector these days or a VCR that functions, but being able to get those old memories and things into a digital format that can be utilized today could help somebody relive the past or remember things that have gone by that they're not able to reach anymore. Yeah, a quick rush through everything that I've got for what we've done here. If any questions came through, happy to answer those. If my email is on here, kfreeman@delawarelibrary.org, or the generic Maker Studio email as well. Either one will get to me, and the Maker Studio one will go to Tom as well. If you have any questions or ideas that you want to know better how it works, things that you can do here in more detail, or if things are possible in a certain way, we're happy to answer questions anytime that you send an email.
Awesome. It looks like we did have a couple questions come through, and I know we
Sure.
need to be mindful of time, but I just wanted to throw out, I thought this was a good one. If you can touch base on how to come into the Maker Studio. Do you make an appointment? Sure. Can you show up?
Great question.
How does that work?
Yeah. So the Maker Studio is open for usage Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 6 hours each day. You are able to drop in whenever we're open, and we will help you to the best of our ability. If you reserve a time through the library's website, that guarantees you time on the machine, and is recommended for a lot of projects like the laser cutter and the wide format printer. Those are our most popular ones, and typically it's hard to get into those if you don't make a reservation. If you want to make a button, it's usually pretty easy to just show up and use one of those. Reservations are done from the library's website. There's a link in the top right corner to our menu, which has a link to Maker Studio reservations from there. The only pieces of equipment not reservable are the 3D printers, because they take such different amounts of time, it's hard to plan for. So those are on a first in, first out system, where if the printers are running, we'll hold on to your project until one of them is free. If nobody's printing anything, you can hop on right away. And then the heat presses, they don't take any time at all, so we don't take up a reservation. And you have 15 reservations per month to use, however you see fit.
Awesome. We did have a handful of other questions. They were kind of specific to the cost of creating an item. So I did put the link to the website in our chat as well as the chat on Facebook Live. So on the website, you can click on reservations to check out how to reserve a specific item like Kellen was just talking about. There is also a frequently asked questions tab that lists out prices and has a lot of detailed information about all of the different materials that the Maker Studio has to offer.
Yep. And I will point out that we charge for material cost. We don't charge for machine usage. So if you are providing your own materials, there's no cost to use the equipment. That happens kind of commonly with the laser cutter. People bring in their own materials for that. But it also has worked with the 3D printer, where we stock a white because it paints it to whatever color you want it to be. But we have people who will bring in a roll of a specific color that they want to use. There's no cost to use the equipment itself.
And most of your most of the equipment that you have in the Maker Studio, there are materials available for a simple project. If it's something more elaborate or you want a specific color, like Kellen mentioned, you want to be sure that you bring your own materials in. But for the most part, I think, Kellen, you mentioned you guys do have some on-hand materials for those.
Yeah, we have materials to run kind of everything. The sewing machines are about the one we don't really have anything for. We have some donated scraps and threads to learn how to work it. But if you want to make a project with the sewing machines, that's really the one you kind of need to bring your own equipment for. And the sublimation printer, you want to bring the thing that you want to put it on, but we have the paper and the ink and stuff for that project.
And real quick, we had another question pop in about like if you use a sewing machine, do they have to know how to already sew, or are you guys available to provide supports?
We are available to help teach to the best of our ability on any given day. Sometimes it's pretty busy in here and we're bouncing between different people, so we will do our best to help answer your questions as efficiently and quickly as possible. But sometimes there is a requirement for a little bit of patience, as there's only one of us at any given time to help out everybody who are here. I will point out that we are also open on Wednesdays for classes. So we're not open for general usage, but we do classes all day on Wednesday. These are on a variety of topics depending on the week, and they're typically used so I can show a group of people how to do something without interruptions. So for like that 1 hour, my intention is entirely focused on showing you how to run the embroidery machine without having to answer any questions about anything else. So they're not required, but they are available.
Awesome. Looks like we are good on questions for now. I think most follow-ups, we have the website available, and then also Kellen had his contact information up there. So Courtney, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Kellen, for doing this. It was great.